Okay, corn.
Oh, corn. Oh, you see that corn? Corn. It still says 0 viewers. I don't know if I'm live on mine end. Hold on, let me just triple check here. Oh, it does. Okay, never mind.
Nobody's watching. Corn.
Oh, corn.
But we're on time. We are on time.
We are on the time. Oh, baby. We here.
We're still.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. And this is GPS. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Okay, folks, first of all, sorry for the 4 hours late. That's on me. So I know the puppet people, the amount of outpouring for Moosie is, I was just telling Brandon, I truly appreciate it. It is insanely kind of you. So here's what, it'll give you the lowdown real quick, because this is what people want to talk about, of course. Is that so on Wednesday, the day before I left for Denver, Moosie threw up his breakfast. It was like a few hours later, and he threw it all up. And I was like, okay, like maybe he just ate too fast. That's why we have the bowl for him. But okay. So then Thursday, he threw up a little bit too. And then when I was gone, I got back on Saturday, he was throwing up his food to the point where he wasn't eating anymore. So when I got back on Saturday, I was like, okay, let me try to like give him some plain white rice. Like, let me try to give him some pumpkin, and let him give him some, just things to make the tummy feel better. And he ate some banana, which was good. And then I gave him a few pieces of like kibble, and he threw that all up. So I was like, okay. Now my primary vet was closed on Sunday, yesterday. So I went to the emergency vet instead and spent 4 hours there. They took his blood work. Everything looked okay. And they couldn't do an ultrasound just because the ultrasound person wasn't in. So then I was there for 4 hours yesterday. They wound up hydrating him and giving him some fluids. It looked like he had a big sack of water. So that helped a little bit because he was a little dehydrated. He can still hold water. He's still pooping, so there was no blockage. So then this morning, I had to take him for an ultrasound, and there was only a small window where they could see me because I still had to go through the emergency vet. So they took it. Everything looked normal. There was no blockages, anything like that. So now I brought him home. He just ate a tiny bit for like the first time in a couple of days. So now I just got to wait, and I got to make sure that he can keep it down. So in a few hours, as long as he keeps it down, but nothing like a stressful start to everything. So yeah, it's just a lot going on, but so far he's all right. Yes. And now we're gonna talk about wrestling. Yeah, Cena finally did it. I texted Wes in the middle of it right before he did. I was like, is Cena gonna win this elimination chamber and turn heel? Yes, he did.
Wow,
he did.
So he joined. Him and The Rock are on the same team now.
They are. He sold his soul to Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
And he's got a shot at Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship at WrestleMania.
So will it be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes?
Yes.
And The Rock's just going to watch from the side?
Probably, maybe interfere. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows what that...
Why did The Rock slit his throat like this?
I think it was maybe he missed, or he's just like a big Two-Face fan, or like Joker, I should say, actually, with the scars. Yeah, I don't know. So
that's all I could think about. I was like, why just...
Yeah, he missed. He went all the way up, and I was like, that's gonna do some permanent damage. But this is one of those things too. This happened last year at WrestleMania, where something like this transcends the wrestling bubble, and people are like, John Cena turned heel, that is. I mean, if you watch during his reign of terror, they teased it so many times about heel turns, a Bray Wyatt WrestleMania match, and they finally pulled the trigger and did it. Finally did it. Like, get it done.
Yeah, sorry. 1,000 video posts of that exact moment.
Yeah. It was
which was fine, but nothing else was happening.
Yeah. So because we went late, or We're starting late. A bunch of news is starting to come out because it's going to be about within this next week or so that things are going to start getting crazy for free agency. We already have trades. Deebo Samuel getting traded to the Commanders for a 5th round pick. And some people were like, why only a 5th round pick? They didn't watch Deebo Samuel play last year. And he was not very good. And the amount of money that was also attached to his contract, it was going to be interesting or difficult to move him because I think they were just going to cut him if they didn't trade him. So I think a 5th. The Commanders, you take a shot on them, right? It's a 5th round pick. You see if you can kind of rekindle that 2021 season magic and take it from there. But yeah, then there's also rumors about Ayuk being shopped as well. So who the hell knows what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do? We talked about them being one of the more interesting teams heading into the offseason, like what they're going to do with Purdy. They have some aging veterans and Deebo, first one on the move.
They we got that Slay was released. Maybe Adams gets released. Stafford went back to LA, which of course happened right after
we were done.
our shit last week. We'll get through all of this. There's a lot that did start to happen today. I just did a whole video on Deebo going to the Commanders, and I think he's going to play better in Washington than people are giving him credit for. Last season wasn't great, but he still would have been the 3rd leading receiver on the Commanders, even with his production last year. And Washington, they need a number 2 guy. So getting Deebo for a 5th, that's an easy move for a team that gets him for a year. And then if he's good, they can give him a new contract if they want, or they can move on from him.
Yeah.
Kind of the same situation we saw with Diggs going to Houston. And I think like it was John Lynch who basically said, the 49ers are trying to, he didn't say we're not fully like resetting, but they're trying to get younger. Yeah. So, and Deebo's only 29. It's so funny. But like 29 for a receiver who didn't perform last year, his value dropped significantly. Even if it's a guy like Deebo who had one really phenomenal season, very good seasons, after that, but never that 2021 season. Same with Cooper Kupp. But I like the move for Washington. I think when you have a quarterback as dynamic as Jaden Daniels, you have your guy in Terry McLaurin out there. You've got they still need to figure out what they're going to do with De'Ami Brown, whether he's going to come back or not. But Deebo's, still a versatile player, and I think as long as he can, lose a little weight, get a little bit of that speed back, I think it'll be all right. I think it'll be it's just an upside move for the Commanders.
Again, the money is the only concerning part, but in terms of draft capital, like maybe he can. You're just hoping that you can get back to what he was and what his production was, because if he can, even if he gets like 3/4 of what he did a few seasons ago in 21, like that's going to be insane. The question always is, especially as you get closer to death, otherwise known as 30, things don't know if you could turn back the clock. So
yeah, he just got to get back to like 2023 production where he had like 900 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, another 200 or 300 rushing, and I think 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Just make him a running back. He really likes that. But yeah,
the way he's built, he looks like a running back.
Deebo, it wasn't huge news because I feel like when it happened, 49ers fans were like, okay, yeah, I was hoping we could get a little bit more value, but I didn't know how much we were going to get with his production. And then for the Commanders, it's like you said, it's upside. I'm just hoping that you can, work him into the offense and he can be a productive member of the team. But if you have another weapon for Jaden Daniels and he winds up working out, cool. If he doesn't, 5th round pick is nothing. The money sucks, but ultimately, I think, you got to make some moves here.
That's the weirdest thing about this for the 49ers is they still eat a bunch of dead cap, even with him going over there. And I think unless something like weird happens, they're going to lose $15 million in cap space this season because of that. So like moving on from him to make room for Brock Purdy in like a contract, that's incorrect because they're actually going to have less cap space with the dead cap hit or whatever. It was on the spot track. I was like, doesn't make a ton of sense other than, the Niners weren't going to bring him back. So they'll take the 5th rounder, and they appear to be a team that is going to be invested, I think, in trying to build for the future through the draft.
Yes.
And plus they didn't have Ayuk last year. We don't know what they're going to do with them. Ricky Pearsall didn't play for a lot of the season because he got shot. Like, Pearsall's kind of the guy that's probably going to replace the production that they have for Deebo anyway.
And Ayuk is coming back from injury, right? Because
Yeah.
like that, there was high hopes for him.
Exactly.
So, well, I mean, again, the 49ers, they got to figure out their quarterback situation too. Like, what is a Brock Purdy contract going to look like? So it's going to be tough to kind of evaluate San Francisco until we see what the hell their team looks like, in about a month or so.
I just wonder how much Purdy's going to get paid. But
that's the one. Another one? I'm just saying.
I don't think so, Luigi.
Hey, speaking of, because there's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about T. Higgins too. Speaking of the Jets, there's 2 players I want to talk about on the Jets. One is a good old Aaron Rodgers. Last time we saw that they're going to be moving on from Aaron Rodgers, obviously. But there's talks that maybe he's not going to have to go so far. There's some rumors that are hitting the mill that maybe he's just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to stay here in good old New Jersey and play for the Giants, which I said it about Matthew Stafford. If you thought that the Jets O-line was bad, God help you. Just God, any deity that you believe in be with you, because I don't know how well that's going to go. Devontae Adams, the Jets are open to trading him, right? Or he's probably going to get cut as well. And you, I think, put out, you were talking about this of like, does Devontae, it's assumed that Devontae Adams is going to just follow Aaron Rodgers wherever he goes. I don't know if I agree. I mean, again, only Devontae Adams knows, but I don't know if I agree with that.
Adams got to get the hell away from Rodgers. It's time to move on, Devontae. It's time to move on. You're too loyal to your friends. You followed Derek Carr, then you followed back to Rodgers. If you're a free agent, go play with like a young, good quarterback on a good roster. I think, because I think Devontae will be affordable if he becomes a free agent. The Jets are going to have a hard time trading him because his contract's crazy. He's owed a ton of money. So unless the team's willing to, unless the Jets are willing to pay part of that, or I don't know. But I hope he just goes plays with any good quarterback not named Patrick. I swear to God, Devontae, if you go to the Chiefs, you're fucking dead to me. You're dead to me. Because I still think Devontae, he's got some good ball left.
Yeah, I agree.
Just don't go to the Chiefs.
I don't think the Vikings are going to do that, to be honest. I think those last 2 games with Darnold, even though you could put a lot of it on like the offensive line, especially the Rams game, I don't think that because it's going to cost money to do. I think he's just going to wind up going. I think he's gone unless he literally just signs a backup deal in Minnesota. I think he can fight for a starting job somewhere, but I don't think the value is going to be high enough for them to tag and trade him.
I mean, he's probably going to be the most sought after quarterback in free agency if he becomes available. So that's the only way, like, the Vikings, I feel like, can leverage value if one team's like, you know what, we don't even want Darnold to become a free agent, so we'll give you this draft capital for him. But I don't think any team who needs Darnold's willing to give up draft capital to get Darnold.
Because you're basically getting Darnold, I would assume, as like a handcuff, right? If you're going and drafting like a brand new quarterback, in April and saying, okay, let's bring in a guy who can compete, maybe he can start. And Sam Darnold can obviously start. So I just don't know if the price is right there, because then it's just gonna be another layer of trying to get Darnold. And it's like you said, I don't know if there's gonna be many teams that are gonna give up that draft capital to do so, especially when there's lots of rumors about teams moving up and down within the draft. So they're gonna be moving some capital for that too.
And after like this last week of the combine, it seems like there's it feels like Cam Ward's the clear-cut number 1 quarterback in this draft.
Coming out of the draft.
And then everybody below Ward, the NFL teams are like, we don't need this guy in the top 5. We don't need to be in the top 5 to get this guy. If we don't get him because somebody else takes him in the top 5, we're going to be fine. And it is it's not a good offseason to need a quarterback, either free agency or the draft. And I think like usually it would be like quarterbacks are priority in free agency. Like every offseason, it's been these big weird moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like when the tampering period starts next week and free agency opens up, feels like none of the quarterbacks will still be signed anywhere.
Yeah.
Teams will just be like, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see. Outside of maybe Justin Fields returning to the Steelers. Maybe that's the only priority there. But like, I just don't know. Like, I feel like we've been guessing about this shit for 2 months now. And Stafford going back to the Rams was the first piece. But now it's just a bunch of
It's not as like
rumors and
it's just gonna be like, is there gonna be like big time trades, right? I feel like that's what's it like the out of nowhere, like a Tyreek Hill getting traded. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I meant from a couple years ago. I just don't know if there's gonna be huge splashes. But
no,
yeah, Slay again. You go and get Darius like because he's 34. Like
he got old.
Yeah, he is. Hold on, man. Let me see good old Darius Slay here.
He is 34. Dang.
34 years old. Yeah. He just turned 34. But he's a stopgap, right? If you're getting there. So I think like he'd be a good free agent if you want to bring it in, to shore up your secondary. But he's not there for a long time, I don't think, because
you know how you can look younger, Darius Slay? By slapping on some Turtle Beach headphones, today's sponsor. Look at that. I went from 40 to 32 just by putting these bad boys on my head. Sure, the sound quality is excellent, especially if you're going to be using them for gaming, which why wouldn't you? But really, the reason people wear these makes you look younger, hotter, sexier, more fit, whatever. They do wonders. Darius Slay.
I don't know if it took 8 years off. The mustache did. So true story. When I saw Perna, I literally did not recognize him at first. I did not because of the mustache. It looks good though. It still looks good.
Yeah. We didn't play any video games, but we should have while you were here. And I could have just put these on and
we made up a
just
football.
talked in my ear.
Yeah.
I could have ignored you while Master Chief was telling me what to do.
Doesn't really talk a lot, I thought.
Yeah. He talks a little bit, okay? He talks a little bit. He's like, go get those guys. Kill them with the guns. Fatality.
That's a different
Finish
game.
Him.
Nope.
That's me, a Master Chief.
That we're bending genres. What about Pokemon? You could probably do some great gaming with Pokemon.
Nope. Not gonna ever do
You're
that.
catch them all on those.
Never gonna do that with my Turtle Beach.
Never gonna give you
my Gen 3 Stealth 700, by the way, if you're looking for the specific make and model. And don't say me. Don't say I am the model just because I look like one.
I was going to, but I was like, I'm just gonna let this sit here.
Yeah.
We're gonna go. You look great.
Yeah. My favorite thing about the brief for this, Tom, is they say connected to your console with the Stealth 700. It can connect to your phone for music streaming or taking calls at the same time. Imagine listening to Led Zeppelin while going on a kill streak in Call of Duty. If that was Halo, there would never be a headphone more designed for me because it's literally my favorite band all time, the greatest band of all time. Well, with the video game, there's no band better than Led Zeppelin. Everybody knows it. Anybody who says something different doesn't even deserve these headphones. But use our code GPS. We got a link in the description. They don't help you talk. They don't make you more literate.
But you can listen to an audiobook, right?
Level up your gaming experience. Head to turtlebeach.com. Use code GPS. 10% off your entire order with our code. 10%. Turtlebeach.com.
You did great there. Excellent job.
Okay, Darius Slay.
Oh my God, it was so sad, Robert. Sorry, continue. Not sad as the Jets. Sorry, Robert, but also.
Yeah, I didn't know he was 34. So he got released, and I tweeted that's a bit of a surprise. And Eagles fans were like, "No, it's not, idiot." But you've been living under a rock. Not a surprise for us Eagles fans. We've known he's going to be gone all year. Okay, sorry guys. I'm sorry.
So, because Howie said too, he's like, just as like players get more expensive, like we're going to have to get younger, which good God, that's why they like you also think about a position group where they can move on from Slay. It is with the Philadelphia Eagles because they went out and they got some phenomenal secondary help in the draft, guys being named for freaking, what is it? Not MVP, defensive player of the year or defensive rookie of the year, excuse me. They've been phenomenal. So I think that while Slay has some good game left, being 34, it doesn't make sense to give him a huge contract if you're the Eagles, especially if you have, potential replacements.
They're supposed to do it as a post June 1st release, which will save them the most money or whatever. And they also said, with Howie, never say never. There's always a chance he could come back. So I hope to God he comes back, just so those Eagles fans telling me how stupid I was after saying it's a bit of a surprise are wrong. I think it was somebody posted Slay was on Amon Ra's podcast, and he said if he left the Eagles, he would want to go back and play for the Lions. So it's going to be about like what Slay's willing to play for. And maybe Stafford setting the precedent where he's going to return to the Rams. We don't know the contract details yet, but I'm pretty sure they met in the middle somewhere. So he's taking somewhat of a discount to go back to the Rams. If Slay's like, okay, release me. Because didn't the Eagles do that with who the fuck was it? So Jason Peters. We all thought he was gone, and then they ended up bringing him back. Not this last year, but a year or two ago. If anybody can bring him back after releasing him, it's the Eagles.
Probably Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah.
So who knows?
Maybe this summer. Maybe this summer I can do it.
Or a team that's in a window needs to add, solid veteran depth. Because Slay still played well last year.
Yes, no, he definitely did. I got you. Just because.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Oh.
You are 40. You are 40.
Thank you.
He just ate for the first time in a couple of days, so we're waiting a couple hours to make sure he doesn't throw it up. So just got back from the ultrasound this morning. It's been a time, but fingers crossed. But yes, I agree. So if you're like the Lions make sense too, because if you're like, okay, we want to make our secondary better, you get him for a year or two, right? Because the most I think he's going to command is a 2-year deal. And then you go, okay, we're in a Super Bowl window. Let's go and get this done.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like that's going to work.
My question is because they still have James Bradbury on the roster. He was hurt most of the year, wasn't he? Like Eagles fans, would you rather like release Slay and bring back release Bradbury and bring back Darius Slay for another year or two? And I know like with DeJean and with Quinion Mitchell, they've got young, very talented corners.
Yeah.
But you kind of still want one of those vet guys there. I think I'd rather have Slay than Bradbury. But Slay's right now, Darius Slay is what? Fifth on the cap hit for the upcoming season at age 34. So
can't do that. Can't be working with that. Lighthouse, if I'm the Patriots, here's the thing. I don't think that there's one player that's making them a playoff contender. Like this is going to have to be they need an offense, and they're going to have to invest in offensive line. They're going to have to invest in more weapons. So I don't think it's just one, but I think that this year they can get closer to that if they nail the draft and free agency. Like I would have loved T. Higgins to go there. Like that I think would have made all the sense in the world. We'll talk about T. Higgins getting franchise tagged by the Bengals, but yeah, they're going to need a few things. That offense was pretty damn anemic, and May showed some cool flashes and like, I'm excited for him, but they need to build a team around him. So I think it's going to be a go get protection is going to be the most important thing. So you go get your O-line. You're going to have to get another receiver to throw to, like that's the start chipping away at it and then see how good May really is. Cause then you could really evaluate him too, because it's tough to evaluate what he currently has to work with.
Yeah, they need to sign a lineman in free agency, and then they'll, there's a good chance, depending on how that top part of the draft shakes out. Who's that guy? Is it Will Campbell? Is the offensive tackle? Would make a lot of sense for the Patriots. They need a true weapon for Drake May to throw to. So you need a weapon. You need line help. I think they could probably use edge rushing help on defense as well. But they got a ton of money.
They got a lot of money.
They got money.
Look at the
They can do whatever
Commanders,
they
right?
want.
So that's the Commanders because they have a bunch of money. So yeah, Deebo, give up a fifth. You're gonna have to spend some money, of course, but if it works out, it works out.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just not super exciting just based off of what he's done recently, but the potential is like okay. But you could also see how the Commanders feel about him and how the 49ers feel about him because he went for a 5th round pick.
Yeah. And I think like
Catch the ball.
Last offseason, nobody was impressed with what the Commanders did, right? Their free agency, they're just like, oh yeah, they signed a bunch of old guys to like 1 or 2 year deals.
It kind of reminded me of the Texans. What was that, like a year or two ago, right? Like that they kind of
the Texans did that like for 10 years in a row.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
Yeah, nobody's super impressed by it, but that team was good. And obviously, a big part of that is they hit on Jaden Daniels in the draft. Without doing that, probably none of those moves look quite as nice. But if you believe Adam Peters knows how to build a roster and Dan Quinn's a good head coach, then I think you got to kind of trust them with the Deebo Samuel move. I feel like they know what they're doing. And Peters was with the Niners for 7 years, so if anybody has a good read on Deebo, it's him. And if he looks really good there, maybe the Niners look a little silly. Deebo said he would play for the Broncos, the Commanders, and I forget what other team. There's 3 teams. Once I saw the Broncos in there, I stopped paying attention, but he went to Washington. So,
yeah, no, I agree. And want to talk about T. Higgins super duper quick.
Yeah,
so T. Higgins, so this isn't a huge shock as this was kind of reported on a couple weeks ago at this point, right? So they franchise tagged him. It's $26.2 million. And this is the 2nd year in a row now that they used it on Higgins. And they're just, the Bengals are in this spot where like they got to pay some people, right? Jamar Chase, he's got to get paid. T. Higgins, he's got to get paid. And I feel like for T, there's so many teams that could use him. Like we mentioned the Patriots before, the Commanders, before they got Deebo, but like there's teams that could definitely use him, and I think would be willing to give him a sizable contract. I just don't know if this is going to result in him staying with Cincinnati. Because like, is there a team, like let's just say you're the Patriots, right? You got a bunch of money, you got some draft capital. Are you giving up both of those things to go get T. Higgins, or are you just going to draft a receiver? Because I got to be honest, I might go draft a receiver. And I like T. Higgins a lot. I don't know. Because I feel like receivers, they're not easy to find in the draft by any means, but I think that usually there's a good amount of talented receivers that come out, and then there's just levels to it. And listen, as someone who has heard from Packers fans nonstop about T. Higgins, the only concern that I have is the same concerns I have about Christian Watson, right? And that their ability to stay on the field, through no fault of their own, they get hurt sometimes. And so I don't know. Like T. Higgins is a very good wide receiver, but I don't know if I'm giving up major draft capital and also going to pay him that major contract too.
No, you don't. As a franchise, you don't want to be in a position where you have to pay your edge rusher, your number 1 receiver, and your number 2 receiver all at the same time. And that's where the Bengals are because they can't get shit done ever. They get cheap when they shouldn't. And now they're going to probably have to overpay if they do keep T. Higgins. He's going to play at what, $20+ million a year this year, as is Jamar Chase on his 5th year option. Like
within a year.
It seems like they are doing this wrong.
Yeah.
And you like it for the Bengals in that Joe Burrow will have Higgins and Chase to throw to at least for one more season. Unless some team makes T. Higgins an offer, right? There's always that. When you tag him, a team can give him the trade comp, which would be ridiculous. So it's not going to happen, but there's that possibility. I don't know. It just feels like the Bengals are going to be in hell perpetually, even with Joe Burrow as their quarterback.
I think it's just going to be, do they push out the money, right? Because they have a good amount in cap space, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's terrible, but I think they're decently high up there. Again, if I'm not, I'd have to look.
Yeah, they're 14th. They're right ahead of the Rams and Broncos.
Okay, so in terms of the Bengals, like they can structure this the way that like they can push a ton of money out. The salary cap's going up again. It's going to keep on going up. But that's, I think, the way that they're going to have to do this. Like they're going to have to put a ton of money on the back end for this to work out, because again, it's not just T. Higgins, is Jamar Chase too, who is going to command one of the largest wide receiver contracts we've ever seen. Like that's the way that's going to go. So Dakota, we were talking about this on Friday, and I was like, I don't know how that would work out. And I like that how that got completely smashed by the time we were done with GPS. DK Metcalf would be fun, but what are you giving up for DK Metcalf? Like, what are you good? Because the whole, was it second round pick or third round pick and like another receiver? Listen, I believe in the Packers receivers. I think they need to go get another receiver. Romeo Doubs, you have injury concerns. The guy just had another serious concussion. Christian Watson's going to miss a good chunk of the season. Are you willing to give up on Jaden Reed, who you got a second round pick, and also I think he's pretty explosive when he can catch the ball. I don't think the Seahawks are doing that, and I don't think the Packers are doing that. So it'd be cool. Like DK Metcalf's a great player, but I don't think so.
Yeah, the Bengals gotta really hit this draft. T. Higgins is so good. I get why it's hard to like justify letting him walk or letting him go. But receiver is one of the easier positions to find via the draft, especially if you've got a quarterback like Joe Burrow, right? Like he elevates the receivers. There's no question about that. And it seems like smart teams, and I think the Bengals would catch a ton of shit if they let T. Higgins go for nothing. But like really good franchises, they make those tough decisions, right? And it's because they need to spread the money around. Their defense was not good last year. That's why they didn't get into the postseason. So they need to spend their money at other spots. When you have a guy as good as Jamar Chase already, like just fill in the gaps outside and around him. I think that's what bothers people about it.
So here's the issue, right? So like, let's just say a Trey Hendrickson, right? Because he's what, 31? Is that just said?
Yeah, and he wants more money, right?
Yeah, like so Hendrickson or Higgins. Higgins is younger. You know, he's due for a big contract. I don't know, man. Yeah. Like, because I feel like the Hendrickson, you lose him, man, you're losing a beast. And I like T. Higgins a lot, but it's kind of like you're saying, I'd rather take Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and then just go and find another wide receiver.
Yeah.
You know, I that's how I would potentially rock with that.
And what we'll see over the next week too, because like, okay, so Darius Slay set to be released today. There's going to be other players released throughout the next week that will start to free up more cap space for these teams. You start to get a better idea of what they might do. And it's like players like Sam Hubbard for the Bengals could be like guys you see get released. So it's a little hard to say at this exact moment what maybe some of these teams will do, but more guys are going to get cut. More veterans that probably have 1 year left on their deals that take up money. Zach Moss didn't really work out for the Bengals last year.
You know what? And Perna, we're talking about this too. Like we're talking about paying the receivers, right? T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Their offensive line, they went out and they drafted him, but their offensive line needs to get better too.
Yeah, and they're releasing veteran guard Alex Kappa, right? Like Kappa's gone.
Yep. So
that'll help with the Kappa.
It's a matter of like there's things that they need to address, and they have really dynamic playmakers, but you know they also need to fix up that defense a bit, and their offensive line needs to get better too. When it comes to the Commanders, so I think they'll spend heavy. I think they're going to spend a good amount of money.
Oh yeah,
I think they'll spend a good amount of money.
They're going to drop some coin
if the price is right. I mean, third most cap space.
Yeah.
Why not? Because you identify where you have issues and try to address that in free agency, and then you go into the draft.
If I were the Bengals, I would have cut T. Higgins, signed Devontae Adams once he becomes a free agent. Then you draft a receiver, and you're good. You're good to go on offense.
That's it. New England, New England. Because if T. Higgins was getting released, I'm like, New England's going to pick him up tomorrow. You may like just throw him a major contract. You go get yourself a receiver and have a nice day. But like I said, I
most sought after free agent.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's gonna make like 21 million this year, but
DJ Reed, interesting.
Oh yeah, he's gonna get released too, right?
DJ Reed looks like it. Also, because it didn't happen when we were there. when we were together. But good old Travis Kelce announcing he's coming on back. He's going to run it back one more time.
Oh yeah, we said that on Friday.
Did we?
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
it's hard to remember because we were both so hungover, but
I
we
know,
briefly mentioned Kelsey's
Never
coming
drank
back.
before. I've never done that. But yeah, Kelce coming back, I feel like is not moving the needle for me a lot, especially because you saw Watson and Gray kind of get some more reps and stuff. You know, again, he had a huge game against the Texans. Every now and then he breaks off, but I'm curious to see what kind of Travis Kelce we're going to get in this upcoming season.
Will the real Travis Kelce please sit down? You're
Little
old.
heel turn. Little heel turn.
Nice name, Brandon.
Oh, yeah, you wanted to pull up the faces of the 40? And then we'll jump through some free agents real quick.
Oh, yeah.
In case people are just tuning in, yes. So he just ate some food for the first time in a few days at like 2:30 about an hour ago. So we just got to wait and make sure he keeps it down because that's been the issue. He can't keep it down. So,
where is my faces of the? There it is. Got it. It's probably one of the best posts the NFL Twitter's done in a long time.
Let's go, gods. Let's go. Look at that.
These are all guys running the 40, and they all look like they're taking a shit. That is the best part about this, except of course, look at the guy smiling with it looks like he's giving a thumbs up.
That's kind of awesome. That's kind of awesome.
I hope they do this every year. Just whoever had this idea, great. And maybe they've done it before. I don't really know, but I think Scooter said, what did he quote tweet this? Said something about like, who's going to frame this and put it in their bathroom?
Yeah.
The NFL should sell these as something you put up in your bathroom.
It is Wildflower, obviously. I think I
like this guy right here. That looks like what I'm guessing Tom looked like after the Hot Ones challenge.
It wasn't great. It wasn't a great feeling. I didn't love it. You know, it wasn't my favorite. But it was actually, if you pull that up real quick, pull that up again real quick. It's more the one right beneath it.
Like this one?
Cheeks out of just like, yeah, this is
yeah. You see a little fear.
There's a little fear. There's a little bit of fear here.
What's happening to me?
I wanted to pull this up real quick because this is the list of free agents that the NFL kind of is rocking with. So we just talked about T. Higgins and how he got franchise tagged. So we'll see how that is going to work itself out.
So not a free agent, tagged, not a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Milton, he did himself a lot of favors in that Super Bowl.
Yes, he did.
Had a really good season overall, but that Super Bowl like put him on the map.
So I think he's probably going to wind up getting a decently beefy contract. Also, he's 26 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to be getting a good one. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. I don't think
Stanley leaves, but
yeah, I don't, because they don't become free agents very often. You talked about, I mean, there's plenty of folks I think that could use his services at this point.
Yeah.
You know, 31 years old, so probably maybe like one more large contract, you know, or like at least a good size contract. But
if they let him walk, the Chiefs are signing him immediately.
Tomorrow, literally.
Yeah. And then they'll put Tooney back at guard. They just signed their other good guard. They're like set to be a very good team. So don't do it, Baltimore.
I don't think they're going to, but all the money, literally all the money. I would assume the Eagles are going to make him he's going to be a priority re-signing. Yeah. But yeah, give him all the money.
The Broncos would be in the market to pay him. Inside linebacker sounds like something they're going to try and address in free agency. I don't think they're going to get Zach Bond. Eagles, they've got Williams, Bond, and Sweat. Yeah, those are their three big free agents. I feel like the consensus is they'll be able to keep one of those guys is possibly out.
Bond's got to be. I think he has to be one of them.
That's back.
I think he has to.
Probably. They're probably looking on letting Williams go just because they got so much depth on their defensive line, but who knows?
Yeah. Let him know. I mean, I think Eagles fans it's like, hey, this is the guy that we really need. We really
He's a hero.
Sam Darnold. We've been talking about Sam Darnold, right? It'll be interesting to see if he winds up staying with the Vikings as a backup role or if he winds up resigning. Again, I think he's a perfect bridge quarterback that you're going to bring in after you draft a guy. I think because he can play. And I think you and I talked about this even during the season when we were like, oh, before those last 2 games, where he was going to go and what his potential was. But I don't think that there's a situation that he can go to that's better than Minnesota in terms of the weapons and the coaching. I don't know if that place is out there of the teams that actually need a quarterback. So,
and I feel like the Raiders will pay him.
Self-scouting continues to be an issue for the Cowboys as they failed to get this rising interior pass rusher signed long-term before he bailed out of a contract year. Balled out contract.
Didn't they tag him, though? Didn't they tag him?
Did they just sign him?
I thought they tagged him.
Hold on.
How do you say his last name? Oh, did you?
Let's see. Tag? It says sources Cowboys to tag him if no deal. That was a day ago. So they said if they can't come to a long-term deal, then they'll tag him.
Okay.
So you mentioned, I mean, Cowboys, you need to keep your defense together. I think. Please, you have to. Who knows? Micah Parsons. You mentioned Josh Sweat. Sweat, baby Sweat. He had another really good year. Godwin is interesting. I want Godwin to retire as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I want Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to just be together forever.
Yeah.
I feel like I know that there's a good amount of risk.
It's just injuries concerned with Godwin.
That's what it is. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean,
he's really good though. That's the thing.
Good.
He's very good.
Yeah, I hope he don't. Again, I want him to just stay with Tampa forever. So, Carlton Davis, I can see he's going to either stay in Detroit or I don't know. I don't know how.
I think Detroit can move on from Carlton Davis.
I don't know how much of money he's going to command.
Yeah.
I don't know how much he's going to get. So I can see him like within the, like they want to keep him within the scheme because obviously he knows it well, but
yeah, depends on what he's going to play for.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be able to command big dollars. Ward. Yeah. Ward, there's a lot going on. I hope Ward gets a shot and crushes it.
Yeah, he had a great season with the Niners.
Yeah, stuff going on, but I think Ward will get a shot. Yeah. I just, I don't think he's going to get a major deal either. I could be wrong.
I think Reed's the best available of those corners, though.
Reed would be my guy. If I'm like Packers need a corner, I'm looking at DJ Reed. I would very much like that. So, yeah, it's a Ward to go into Washington. Vikings for Ward. Yeah, it could be. DJ Reed would be the corner that I would like the Packers to go get. I think so. Patriots? You bring it, like, again, it's just like you get a solid guy that is a veteran, you go, okay, here you go, here's Amari Cooper.
Yeah, if he was more productive in Buffalo after he got there, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how much he actually added to their offense.
There was like times where he was like that, but like they just kept waiting. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, like this is to be the game. This is gonna be ever.
It feels like you're waiting to see if Devontae Adams is released because you'd put Adams above Amari Cooper. Any team would, and they're both older, but you probably get more production out of Devontae. But here's why we're here. This whole episode was for us to talk about Drew Dalman.
That's it.
Center, Tom.
He's going to have to battle it out with Josh Myers from the Packers. I mean, listen, there's plenty of teams that need good centers. So, yeah,
Guards and centers. Nobody gives a fuck. I'm sorry, guys.
You don't until you don't have a center.
You're really important, but we just don't care as
Then
fans.
it becomes a little bit more of an issue.
You're like, you're like water. Everybody's got to drink water. We know it's important, but nobody's talking about how much water they had the day before. Nobody's getting excited about water. It's essential, but
dude, Greenlaw, he's another guy. I mean, freaking got hurt in the Super Bowl, but like when he can play, he can play.
yeah,
He's good. He's pretty damn good. So I don't know where he's gonna wind up going. Because again, the 49ers, who knows what the hell's going on with the 49ers, man? They're gonna have to figure it out real quick. Drew. Call
there
him.
you go, Drew Dalman.
Drew Dalman. He's your guy. Javon Holland, I forgot. Yeah, Holland.
These are two interesting names. These are two guys the Broncos could actually be pursuing.
Oh man.
They need safety, they need linebacker. And now Bolton is the youngest of the available free agent linebackers if, the Chiefs don't figure out a way to bring him back.
Appreciate you.
Underrated player. He's a big reason the Chiefs were able to slow down Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl. That's not a great example, but he's a good player, and I'd take him to make the Chiefs a little bit worse and sign him.
Ew. Sorry, Bud Light. Just doesn't taste good. Get a Hoegaarden.
Sammy Ham butt.
Allagash White. Listen, guards starting to get that big time money finally.
Yeah. Will Fries.
This is Hassan Reddick.
Not doing it. Not doing it. Sorry, Hassan. I loved you at one point, but that was a debacle.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'd love to put it all on the Jets, but it takes two to tango there.
Yeah.
And when he did return, he wasn't that good. He was good in his first game, and then after that, nobody talked about him.
Stress, I did not. I flew back on a plane and then have been dealing with a sick pupper all weekend, so I did not get to see anything. I did see it while I was in Vegas, though.
We went live at this time just for our friends in Australia.
That's right, baby. Let's go. Listen, Reddick, he shows up for every single team, but no one's going to give him a contract, and now he's 30 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's tough. That's tough. So, Justin Fields, you talked about that. Bless you.
Thank you.
That could be interesting. Just, I don't know. Again, not really moving the needle at all. Maybe just stays in Pittsburgh. Sante Samuel. Yep. You know what? Send Asante Samuel to the Steelers. They'll fix him up. They'll make him good.
Ooh.
Khalil Mack.
They could get Asante Samuel. They already have Hayward, and maybe they acquire J.C. Horn. They get all of the former players of NFL.
And who needs a kicker? Justin Reed too. Double duty.
Please get rid of him. He's also good.
He is good. Oh, Ernest Jones. Okay. Yep. Cam Robinson. Yep.
Jackson. I believe they extended Jackson. Oh yeah. Editor's update. 3-year, $57 million.
Stephon Diggs. I mean, is he going to stay for a super low ball contract? You sign him to a 1-2 year deal.
Coming off an ACL tear too.
Yep. That's a 1-2 year deal, and that's it. So
ACL tears don't make guys in their 30s faster. I do know that.
Yeah. No, it does not. I feels like for this free agency, I'm curious to see if there's going to be like that big move, right?
Yeah, it's kind of underwhelming.
It's a lot of like support pieces, which again, if you're like the Commanders or the Patriots, you're just trying to like build these pieces. I think this is a good free agent market for that. I just don't like the big time players. I don't know if there's going to be a ton of movement. Obviously, we're waiting on like Myles Garrett, and Cleveland's just like, hey, you're going to live here forever, and we're never going to let you go. And Crosby, I don't know if he's going to be moving. So
it's so funny. It's like, in every year is so different, right? So a few years ago, you had the big Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams trades.
Yep.
Both of those players were good in their new homes in Miami and Vegas. They were very good. didn't really matter big picture for those teams. Neither team won any playoff games. Raiders never even made it to the playoffs.
They got rid of
Last year,
Devontae's best friend.
nobody really cared, but Saquon and Derrick Henry changed teams, took cheap deals. They're probably the two most important free agent acquisitions, like last offseason to their team's success. Frankie Louvu was a great signing by Washington. It's just like, it's so hard. Like, we get so enamored with the big splash free agency signings. And I'd be curious to see like how many times those actually turn teams into contenders or playoff winners. Like the Broncos had maybe one of the most boring free agency periods last offseason because they had no money because we were paying it all to Russell Wilson. But Brandon Jones was a great pickup at safety. Malcolm Roach, very solid on their defensive line. And they eventually traded for John Franklin Meyer in the draft, and that was huge. So you're like, you when you're saying like pieces and contributors, I think that's really what teams are going to be trying to find in this free agency period. And somebody that we're undervaluing right now is going to overperform and we'll be like, dang, that was a great pickup. But it feels like some guys are going to make a lot of money that shouldn't in this free agency period.
Well, I feel like, right, that's what free agency is. You're paying a premium to make up for either poor drafting or just like guys not living up to their potential or what have you. And that's why coming from a Packers fan who Ted Thompson was like, we'll never go into free agency unless we're like, signing future Hall of Famers. The one I always bring up is Bird, who wound up going to the Saints and did not do anything with them. Like there's these big names of like, oh man, these are the greatest free agent safeties or corner. And sometimes it is just, you get depth pieces, and the Packers, like they crush free agency. They got Xavier McKinney, who was phenomenal. They got Josh Jacobs, who was phenomenal. So yeah,
one
you never
guy
know who's going to be that guy who's going to make a difference.
Should be Devontae. Devontae, come on back.
Steelers, again, you rock with Fields unless you have another option. If you get Aaron Rodgers for cheap, bring him in because why not? Who cares? You're not getting any draft capital for him. The Steelers like need to suck for a little bit. They need to suck for a hot second, just for a little bit. Best community on the internet. That's it. Appreciate you, Dan. Appreciate you. Always gonna let you down. Holy moly!
What?
The king has returned.
King Andrew back at it.
$500 donation. First of all, that's true. It was $893 for the ultrasound today. You ain't wrong, King Andrew. Greatly appreciated. King Andrew, Queen Chiefs, come through. I don't know what the feet are currently looking like. I'm so sorry. King Andrew.
Oh, God.
Guys, listen, we got to do it, Brandon.
No, we don't.
Got to do it. King Andrew, I now give
It's
you...
not 500. It's 49999. I think Andrew does that exact number so he doesn't have to see feet.
Johnny John John! Woo! Johnny John John! Woo! Johnny John John! Woo! Johnny John John! Woo!
I'm done now. King Andrew.
I feel without my beard, I feel like I don't even deserve to look at Andrew anymore.
No, his beard is, man. Whoo, look at him dropping a 50 memberships for one Brandon Perna.
Whoa!
All right, you gotta show nipple. That's how it works. You do that for free. You see, I didn't even have to prompt you.
Andrew, you sneaky, cheeky
you crazy
bastard.
son of a gun. I appreciate the hell out of you, Andrew. Thank you. That will go towards my ultrasound bill for Moosie.
Thank you, Andrew. I will get 50 complaints about memberships people didn't want.
They're like, why do we see more? I don't get it.
I didn't sign up for this channel. This tool.
God. Perna, I appreciate the hell out of you, King Andrew. What do you got coming out today, my friend?
I did a Deebo Samuel episode. So go watch that.
Oh, you put it out already?
Yeah, it's up. It
Nice.
went up before.
Nice.
I just grinded. And then we got a bunch of cool stuff. We got we'll have a Travis Hunter episode coming up soon.
Put out that Bill Simmons episode yet?
That went up.
How'd that do?
Terrible.
Yep. Okay, yeah.
Absolutely, probably my worst performing video since the Rams won the Super Bowl, but that's all right. It's a good video. I'm very happy with it. Andrew gave me $500 for that video, so I'm like, all right, I don't care how it does now. Don't even care. But I'm just trying to brace for free agency. What do you got, Tom?
I was going to put out a skit today, but I got to be honest, folks, I got to worry about the pupper. So as we got to make sure you can keep food down. If you can, great. There'll be a whole bunch. I have a bunch of skits and content I want to do. I want to do wrestling stuff. I want to do football stuff. Just got to give me a little time because I got to pray that he's not hospitalized. So we're going to do that. But as any crazy news breaks, I'll be sure to rock with this. But folks, we appreciate the hell out of you. We back on Wednesday. If there's some crazy news, we're definitely back on Friday.
We should be back Wednesday.
Okay. All right. But folks, appreciate the hell out of you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. This is GPS. And you have been navigated.
And you reach you this delicious